All right, NXT Takeover Phoenix was everything I hoped it would be. Really, not everything that I hoped happened. Not everything that I hoped would happen did happen. Let's just say that. The disappointment of the night for me was the result in the Bianca Belair match. I was really hoping that we would see her put on the women's championship belt. I kind of, at that point, it was pretty obvious that she wasn't going to, though. Before that match even started, I looked over at my wife and I was like, well, it doesn't look like Bianca's going to win tonight. And that was because we'd already seen a new North American champion and new tag champions, and to see a brand new women's champion in the same night and then still have it holding over our heads that we might see a brand new NXT champion, it just, somebody's going to retain somewhere. And since they started the show with two new titles, it made it pretty obvious who the retentions were going to be. So let's start at the beginning of the show real quick, though, and kind of dive into it. First of all, one of the highlights of the night for me was the War Raiders entrance. I really think that they have one of the most terrible names in all of tag team wrestling history. But one of the all-time great themes. I'm not a fan of the name. I like the Viking thing. I like the kind of doom metal adjacent feeling of their entrance music. And they really took that whole thing to a whole new level with all these didgeridoo sounding, bassoon sounding drone notes and Vikings banging spears on shields and stuff. And this was really cool. The War Raiders entrance yesterday at Takeover. I wish I'd done this last night. I was just so exhausted by the end of Takeover after having a long day that I wanted to be fresh and really be able to bring some energy to this because it was such a good show. 4 out of 5. 4 out of 5 stars from me. I don't normally do a star system or whatever, but I am today for this. And maybe we'll do the same if I can try and do a quick breakdown of Royal Rumble once that's over tonight. I might try and do the same. But 4 out of 5 stars for the tag match between Undisputed Era and the War Raiders. And that has nothing to do with how much I love the War Raiders intro. That was one of the better tag team wrestling matches that I've seen in a while on WWE programming. I can't think of one that was quite that good. So 4 out of 5 for sure. Cassius Ono and Matt Riddle. I'm going back and forth with my feelings about this match. It wasn't a bad match by any stretch of the imagination. On a normal NXT show, this would be a really good match. But the part that's difficult for me is I feel like maybe it didn't belong at TakeOver. And I'm like, man, we could have got a match with the Velveteen Dream involved somehow and just had a better TakeOver. And then there's another part of me that's like, but if you have the same cast of characters at every single TakeOver, doesn't it makes it difficult for us to get really hyped up for anybody new, right? Like, who's going to be the next Velveteen Dream or the next Johnny Gargano? Well, we'll never know if it's always the Velveteen Dream and Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa and Ricochet performing at TakeOver. We'll never know. But, I mean, I got to be honest with you. Instead of that Cassius Ono-Matt Riddle match, I would have really loved to have seen something like Adam Cole and the Velveteen Dream. I know we've seen it before, but, I mean, that's a really good tune. Why not keep playing it a little bit? So I'm a little bit back and forth on the Cassius Ono-Matt Riddle match. 2.5 stars. Like I said, it's not a bad match. It was a fun match to watch. A part of me felt like maybe it didn't belong at NXT TakeOver and could have just as easily been on a normal NXT show and been fine, right? Then we have the Women's Championship matchup. Actually, no, that's not the next one that happened. The next one that happened was Ricochet and Johnny Gargano. The first 5 minutes of that match was just incredible. The whole match was incredible. I'm giving it 4.7 out of 5 stars and probably match of the night. I think. It was really, really, really good. That was an excellent match. Both guys were able to kind of capitalize on what they do best in the ring. As far as an entertainment standpoint, we got to see a lot of high-flying stuff from Ricochet. We got to see a lot of athleticism and smooth wrestling out of Johnny Gargano. That was a great match. Both guys performing at their highest level, and maybe even better than we're used to seeing them, because they were in the ring with such high competition. Not to say that those Gargano-Ciampa matches weren't even better. They were, and largely because of like sheer spectacle and like, oh my goodness, is this really happening? And then there's like the emotional drama of it. But when it comes to just the in-ring wrestling, this might be the best match I've seen out of Johnny Gargano. It might have been the best match I've seen out of Ricochet. This was an excellent match. Again, 4.7 out of 5 stars. We're getting a little bit, we're throwing points. We're throwing percentage points of points into this, because it just becomes hard to give one match a 4 and then go and give another match a 4. And then if you give a match a 5, that's a perfect match. I don't want to give that score out too often. Not to say I won't do it more than once, or maybe even more than once in a pay-per-view. We could get 2 5-star matches at Royal Rumble tonight. You never know. It's not impossible. It just felt a little weird to be throwing around 5-star matches. So the next one, Belair versus Shayna Baszler. I think realistically this was a 4-star match, but like in my heart it's like a 3.5-star match because it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. It was very entertaining, lots of really good in-ring storytelling drama with Shayna Baszler really injuring and testing the EST of NXT in a way that we haven't seen before out of anybody. Nobody. And I guess that's fitting because Shayna Baszler is a former MMA competitor, and she's also the current women's champion. She should be tough to beat. She's the damn champ, right? So if we're going to see anybody test Bianca Belair the way that it should be, it really should be Shayna Baszler, right? So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the result. We will see Bianca with the championship belt on in 2019. I would almost be willing to bet money on that. It just seems like she is such a star. They're not going to lose out on the opportunity to put the belt on her. She's a superstar in the making. In the ring, she's so entertaining, so strong looking. Again, I really wish that she would have won, but I understand what they're doing here, and it was a really good match, an entertaining match to see. So then we get to the last match of the night, which again, if I were the WWE, I would almost be doing these takeover events the week before Royal Rumble, because doing it, or the week before a WWE pay-per-view, because doing it the very day before a WWE pay-per-view, I think kind of undermines these WWE pay-per-views a little bit. We haven't seen Royal Rumble yet. I'm not trying to act like it's going to be disappointing or like it can't live up to what NXT Takeover delivered, but it's going to be difficult. This NXT Takeover was just wall-to-wall with great matches. Again, I'm going to give 4.5 stars to the Ciampa-Aleister Black match. Excellent in-ring storytelling with Aleister Black's... They were really working up that Ciampa had done damage to Black's plant leg, his left leg, for when he goes to do his spinning back kick for the Black Mass. So he couldn't plant on that leg. And they were saying it the whole time, and Ciampa was working on that leg. It's not like they were just... sometimes it seems like they're telling stories a little bit. Like, I haven't really seen him working on the leg before right now. No, he was working on the leg consistently the whole match. There were times where it looked like the leg was bothering Aleister Black, which is great. I understand it wasn't a real injury more than likely, but he sold it as a real injury, and it made me believe it was a real injury. So the thing that... really was excellent, though, is at the end he goes to do a spinning back kick, Black Mass, when you think that maybe, just maybe, this is going to be the end of the Tommaso Ciampa championship era. And he can't do it. He can't stay planted on his leg. His knee gives out. He crumbles. He takes this Tommaso Ciampa's finishing move, which I'm having trouble remembering the name of right now. I'm sure I wrote it down. like little description of the fairy tale ending. He couldn't kick out of the 100th fairy tale ending in a row, and so Tommaso Ciampa retains the NXT Championship. And then the big surprise, something that Brandon and I were just talking about on the podcast just yesterday. A little DIY reunion at the end of the show. Johnny and Tommaso, each holding their title belts high above the head. It's come full circle, folks. The DIY story has come full circle. I guess maybe not technically because it's not like they're wrestling in a tag team match. Hopefully we don't see a lot of that. I bet we might see a little something with that eventually. But hopefully not as a full-fledged tag team. These are both singles competitors at this point. And better off if they just are like kind of working together. And maybe it's going to be some dark days for the men's division in NXT with Tommaso Ciampa, full heel, Johnny Gargano flirting with being a heel, working together and both having the men's championship belts. I mean, it almost makes Undisputed Era, guys like Adam Cole and stuff, look like the good guys, right? Anyway, that was huge. That was maybe the surprise of the night if you're following the NXT story at all and you're not just in this to see great matches. But even if you were just in it to see great matches, that is exactly what you saw. I don't think anything we saw on TakeOver was dependent upon understanding the current story to really understand how great the wrestling was and to be entertained by it. Anyway, those are my thoughts on TakeOver. I'm really looking forward to Royal Rumble tonight. Don't be surprised if you see the Velveteen Dream in the Royal Rumble. I think that's going to be my big weird prediction. I'm not saying he's going to win or nothing like that, but don't be surprised if you see the Velveteen Dream enter because he was not at NXT TakeOver. He is apparently involved in some sort of tournament that's going to be on the WWE Network next Saturday, and I'll be sure to maybe cover that a little bit on the channel either before or after that happens. Anyway, so don't be surprised if you see somebody like the Velveteen Dream, because he was not involved at TakeOver, really. And that still seems a little bit suspicious to me. Despite the rationalization that I laid out for trying to build up Matt Riddle's star, it still seems a little fishy that the Dream wasn't at TakeOver. All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.